When they said you only have 6 months left to live, I smiled quietly. Because today, I'm going to that doctor's funeral. I'm still here. He isn't. And this story shows how powerful human will can be, as much as medicine can be wrong. If this story touched your soul, click subscribe and let me know in the comments which city or country you listened from. I'm genuinely curious where you watched from. I'm grateful to everyone who comments. My name is Olivia Hartwell. I'm 59 years old and live in Millbrook, a small town in Oregon. This morning, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw a woman about to turn 60. Not just any woman, a woman who chose to survive, who fought, who never gave up. Today is a special day. Dr. Raymond Fisk's funeral is taking place. Yes, exactly as you heard. The man who gave me 6 months to live. Now he's 6 feet under, and here I am on this sunny October morning, wearing my black dress. But this isn't a victory. No, it's something more complicated. It's a moment that reminds me how unpredictable, how mysterious life is. Let me tell you how we got here. Millbrook, a small town of 12,000 people, about an hour south of Portland. Everyone knows everyone here. When you walk down Main Street, at least 5 people wave at you. Mrs. Murphy's Bakery opens at 6 every morning, and the smell of coffee fills the street. People are born, grow up, marry, and die here. A simple, ordinary, safe life. I was living that kind of life. I had retired after 30 years as a teacher at the local elementary school. I had lost my husband Carl to a heart attack 14 years ago. I had 2 sons, Thomas and William. Both were married, both lived in other cities. Thomas worked at a law firm in Seattle, and William was a surgeon at a hospital in Boise. I lived alone but didn't feel lonely. I had my garden. I felt peaceful every spring as I carefully planted rose bushes. I had my book club. We met every month at the town library to discuss literature. And most importantly, I had time. That quiet, precious time that was mine alone. But on that cold morning in April 2020, everything changed. The fatigue had been going on for several months. At first I thought it was seasonal. Winter had been long. The sun had been scarce. But then I started losing weight. 15 pounds in 3 months. My clothes hung loosely on me. "Olivia, you need to see a doctor," my neighbor Judith said one day. She had come over while I was working in my garden, looking at me with concerned eyes. "You don't look like yourself." That evening, I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. Judith was right. My cheekbones were prominent. I had dark circles under my eyes. Climbing the stairs for 10 minutes left me exhausted, gasping for breath. The next day, I made an appointment. Dr. Raymond Fisk was Millbrook's most respected doctor. He was about 65 years old, always wore a 3-piece suit, had thick glasses, and was a serious man. He had been a practicing physician in town for 30 years. Everyone trusted him. His office was on Main Street. When I walked in, there was a pleasant lavender scent. An elderly couple and a young pregnant woman were sitting in the waiting room. The young woman at the reception desk, her name was Melissa, gave me a warm smile. "Miss Hartwell, how are you? The doctor will see you in 5 minutes." 10 minutes later, I was in Dr. Fisk's examination room. It was minimalist white walls, an examination table, a desk, a few medical diplomas, no personal items, no photos, no mementos. Dr. Fisk shook my hand. His hand was cold. "Olivia, what brings you here?" I described my symptoms: fatigue, weight loss, loss of appetite. He listened, took notes, asked questions. Then he examined me. He pressed on my stomach. I felt a slight pain. He looked into my eyes. He checked my throat. "We'll run some blood tests," he said, his voice expressionless. "And we'll do a CT scan, just as a precaution." Just as a precaution. Those words bothered me, but I didn't think too much about it. 2 weeks later, the results were ready. When I returned to Dr. Fisk's office, he was sitting at his desk with a file in front of him. He didn't stand up when he saw me. He just motioned for me to sit down. "Olivia," he said, taking off his glasses, "the results are in, and I'm afraid I have bad news." My heart started pounding in my chest, but I didn't let it show on my face. I just looked at him with an expression that showed I was waiting. You have pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. Silence. A long, heavy silence. What does stage 4 mean? I asked, my voice calm, but an earthquake raging inside me. Advanced stage, he said. The cancer has spread. It has metastasized to your liver, your lungs. At this stage, treatment options are very limited. How much time do I have? At that moment, in that cold, white room, I was asking the most critical question of my life, and there was no emotion on Dr. Fisk's face, just professional detachment. 6 months, he said. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But realistically, Olivia, these types of cancers are very aggressive. The only thing we can do for you is palliative care to ease your pain, to make the process as comfortable as possible. 6 months. When I heard those words, I smiled strangely. I don't know why I smiled. Maybe shock, maybe acceptance, or maybe it was because, at that moment, I sensed that something was very wrong. Are you sure? I asked. The CT scan is very clear, Olivia, and your blood tests confirm it. Your cancer markers are very high. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What an empty phrase. When I left the office, the sun was still shining. People were walking, laughing, living, but I had entered another world, a 6-month world. That night I called my sons. I called Thomas first. The phone rang 3 times. Mom, how are you? Is everything okay? Thomas, I need to tell you something. Something must have sounded different in my voice because he immediately became serious. What happened? Are you sick? I have pancreatic cancer. It's advanced. The doctor says I have 6 months. Silence. Then a gasp. Then, no, that can't be right. You need to see another doctor. Come to Seattle. See the best oncologists. Mom, this must be a misdiagnosis. Thomas, Mom, listen to me. Millbrook is a small town. The doctors there aren't as experienced as those in big cities. Come here. I'll take you to the best hospitals. Then I called William. His reaction was more emotional than Thomas's. Oh my God, Mom. Oh my God. There were tears in his voice. I'm coming right away. I'll be there on the first flight tomorrow. We'll be together, okay? You're not alone. But I felt alone, because no one could see the storm raging inside me. The next day, I was sitting in my garden. April's cool breeze was blowing in my face, and my rose bushes were swaying gently. I had a cup of tea in my hands and was thinking, 6 months. What if Thomas was right? What if this really was a misdiagnosis? But a voice inside me said Dr. Fisk was right. I remembered my fatigue, my weight loss, all my symptoms. But there was another voice, too. A stronger, clearer voice. What if he's wrong? Do you know anyone like that? Someone who puts their life in a doctor's hands, accepting their decision without question? Most of us are like that. We trust the white coat, the diploma, the authority. But that day, I felt something different. I took out a notebook and started writing. 1. Confirm Dr. Fisk's diagnosis. 2. Research alternative treatment options. 3. Take control of my own health. These 3 simple points became a lifeline for me. The following week, William came. He stayed with me for a few days. We went to the hospital and met with Dr. Fisk. As a colleague, William asked questions, technical, detailed questions. Dr. Fisk was kind but firm. Dr. Hartwell, I understand your concerns, but the CT scan is very clear. At this stage, even chemotherapy might only buy a few months, and the side effects would seriously compromise your mother's quality of life. My advice is to let her be comfortable, spend time with her loved ones. William objected. But there are experimental treatments at other centers, immunotherapy, targeted therapies. These treatments are still experimental, said Dr. Fisk, and the success rates for stage 4 pancreatic cancer are very low. I advise you to be realistic. William's face flushed. Being realistic doesn't mean accepting my mother's death. The tension between them filled the room. I just sat there, listening, and a decision was forming inside me. I would determine my own treatment. After William left, I spent hours researching online. I read everything about pancreatic cancer, stage 4 cases, survival rates, treatment options, and I noticed something. The statistics were terrifying, but there were exceptions. Some people lived 5 years. Some lived 10. Rare, yes, but possible. What if I could be one of those rare cases? Have you ever thought about yourself in that situation? A month later, Dr. Fisk called me back in for blood tests. Olivia, your markers are continuing to rise, he said. Your condition is worsening. Please, don't put yourself and your family through this. Consider hospice care. Hospice? A death house? No, I said. Dr. Fisk looked surprised. No? I'm not going to hospice. And I don't want chemotherapy either. I'm going to choose my own path. Miss Hartwell, please don't be emotional. I'm not being emotional, I said, my voice sharp. I'm being rational. And I'll tell you this, Dr. Fisk. Your diagnosis is a possibility, not a certainty. I have no intention of passively waiting out these 6 months. As I left the office, Dr. Fisk watched me go. There was disappointment on his face, perhaps a little anger, but I didn't care anymore. There was a naturopath in Millbrook. Her name was Dr. Vivian Cole. She ran a small clinic in a wooded area just outside of town. People talked about her. Some saw her as a miracle worker, others as a charlatan. I decided to visit her. Dr. Cole was a woman in her 40s, with long auburn hair and kind eyes. Her clinic was the complete opposite of Dr. Fisk's cold, sterile office, wooden floors, shelves filled with plants, soft music. Olivia, she said, taking my hand, I've heard your story. You are very brave to come here. I told her everything, the diagnosis, Dr. Fisk, my family, my decision. I can't promise you a miracle, doctor, Cole said, but I can give you a chance to support your body's natural healing process. But it won't be easy. It will require discipline, dedication, and faith. I'm ready, I said. And so began my journey, which would last 5.5 years. So what would you have done? Would you have trusted the authority of medicine, or would you have sought your own path? And how do you think Olivia's story will continue? Was that 6-month period really just a prediction, or would Olivia discover another truth? Dr. Vivian Cole's treatment plan was radical. I would get up at 6 in the morning, do an hour of yoga, then drink a specially prepared detox water. My breakfast consisted only of fruit and raw vegetables. Lunch was specially prepared herbal mixtures. Dinner was a light organic meal. Your body is not a battlefield, Olivia, Dr. Cole said on our first day. It's a garden, and we're going to turn it into an environment where cancer cannot grow. The first 2 weeks were hell. My body craved its old habits, coffee, sugar, processed foods. I had headaches, I was sweating, I was constantly tired. But Dr. Cole supported me. This is the detox process, he said. Your body is cleansing itself of toxins. Hang in there. In the 3rd week, I felt a change. I was waking up more energetic in the mornings. My appetite had returned. When I looked in the mirror, the dark circles under my eyes had faded. But the biggest change was happening in my mind. Every day, I meditated. Dr. Cole had taught me to breathe deeply, to listen to my body, to let go of my fears and anxieties. At first it seemed silly, but over time, I noticed something was changing. I was no longer afraid of cancer. I didn't see it as an enemy. I was learning to live with it, to understand it. Does that sound strange? It did to you at first, too. But think about it, fear increases stress. Stress weakens the immune system. A weak immune system strengthens cancer. It's a vicious cycle. I had decided to break this cycle. Thomas and William were against my treatment method, especially Thomas. Mom, are you trusting a naturopath? He yelled on the phone. That woman is a charlatan without a medical degree. You're dying, and you're drinking tea. Thomas, I'm not dying. I'm living. Mom, please, come to Seattle. There are real doctors here, real hospitals. I'll be with you, every step of the way. But I didn't go, because Thomas's real doctors had already given me a death sentence. In their system, I was already a lost cause. William was more understanding. As a doctor, he knew some of the benefits of alternative medicine, but he was still worried. "Mom, I respect your choices," he said one evening when he came to visit Millbrook. "But please, get regular checkups, blood tests, CT scans. Keep track of your condition." "I will," I said, but I also knew I wouldn't go back to Dr. Fisk. In Portland, I found an oncologist named Dr. Sarah Nguyen. She was in her 40s, of Vietnamese descent, and believed in integrative medicine. That is, she combined both traditional and alternative methods. At my first appointment, I told her my whole story. Dr. Fisk's diagnosis, the 6-month timeline, Dr. Cole's treatment. "Olivia, I'll be honest," Dr. Nguyen said. "Stage 4 pancreatic cancer is very serious. The statistics aren't good." "But statistics are just numbers. Every patient is different. Some people recover in ways medicine can't explain." "What do you recommend?" "Regular follow-ups, CT scans and blood tests every 3 months. If the cancer grows, we'll intervene. But if it stays stable, then what you're doing is working." For the first time, a doctor was listening to me. He saw me as a person, not a statistic. "One more thing," Dr. Nguyen said. "Don't underestimate the power of your mind. The placebo effect is real. Belief can create physical changes. If you believe in your treatment, that's important." That day, as I left Dr. Nguyen's office, I felt hopeful for the first time. July 2020. First checkup. Dr. Nguyen was reviewing the CT scan results. I sat across from him, feeling my heart pound. What if the cancer had grown? What if Dr. Fisk was right? Dr. Nguyen looked up. There was a look of surprise on his face. "Olivia, the tumors haven't grown." "What?" "No, wait. Not only have they not grown, they've shrunk. Slightly, but there's a measurable reduction." My mouth was agape. How is that possible? "I don't know," said Dr. Nguyen, smiling. "But whatever you're doing, keep doing it." That night, I cried alone in my house. Out of happiness, relief, hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could win this fight. Dr. Fisk's 6-month deadline had passed, and I was still alive. Better yet, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. I had gained weight, my energy was back. I could work in my garden for hours. I had returned to the book club. People looked at me and said, "You don't look sick at all." But the cancer was still inside me. The CT scans showed the tumors had shrunk but not disappeared. Dr. Nguyen told me to be careful. "This is a marathon, Olivia, not a sprint. Keep going, calmly and steadily." That year, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't let cancer define me. I was Olivia Hartwell, a teacher, a mother, a gardener, a reader. Cancer wasn't sick. Life went on in Millbrook. People threw birthday parties, kids went to school, seasons changed, and I lived alongside them. But there was a shadow. Dr. Fisk. I would see him occasionally on Main Street, entering his office or leaving the cafe on Market Street. Every time he looked at me, there was something in his eyes. Surprise, disappointment, or guilt. We never confronted each other. We just silently greeted each other and moved on. The CT scans were shocking. The tumors were almost completely gone. Dr. Nguyen avoided using the word remission because remission is very rare in pancreatic cancer, but the look on his face said it all. "Olivia, this is incredible. I've never seen anything like this in my 30-year career." "So what happened? Why did this happen?" "If I knew, I'd win the Nobel Prize," he said, laughing. "Maybe your diet, maybe your mind, maybe just genetic luck, or maybe all of the above." That evening, I called Dr. Cole. "Vivian, the results are in. The tumors are almost gone." Silence on the other end of the phone. Then, a soft sob. "Olivia, you're a miracle." "No," I said. "I'm just a person who doesn't give up." But I had a question inside me. Did Dr. Fisk know this? And if he did, how did he feel about it? Millbrook was a small town, and rumors spread fast. People had started talking about my story. "Did you hear? Olivia Hartwell, Dr. Fisk, gave her 6 months." But she's still here, planting roses in her garden. She went to a naturopath, and now she's getting better. Can you believe it? Mrs. Murphy offered me free coffee at the bakery. Olivia, you're an inspiration, she said. My cousin had cancer too, but the doctors pumped him full of chemicals and he couldn't take it. What you're doing is right, but not everyone thought so. One day, an old man I ran into at the market, Mr. Henderson, gave me a dirty look. Mrs. Hartwell, you're disrespecting Dr. Fisk. He served this town for 30 years, and you're making him out to be a liar. I'm not making anyone out to be a liar, I said calmly. I'm just living my own life. But Mr. Henderson's words made me think. How did you think Dr. Fisk felt? Was this a humiliation for him? Or a lesson? 4 years had passed, and I was still alive. I was completely healthy now, no trace of tumors in the last 2 CT scans. Dr. Nguyen wanted to publish me as an extraordinary case in medical journals. One April morning, Dr. Fisk called me, for the first time in 4 years. Olivia, can you come see me? In my office. His voice was different, tired, broken, almost pleading. The next day, I walked into that familiar, lavender-scented office. But Dr. Fisk had changed. His hair was completely white. His face was lined with deep wrinkles. His eyes were red, as if he had been crying. Olivia, please sit down. I sat down. I waited. I want to apologize to you. I was stunned. Dr. Raymond Fisk, that proud, authoritative doctor, was apologizing. I gave you 6 months, and I was wrong. Terribly wrong. Dr. Fisk. No, please, listen to me. His hands were shaking. I've been a doctor for 30 years. I've treated thousands of patients. And I always believed that medicine was absolute. Tests, statistics, protocols. I thought they never lied. But you taught me something. Medicine doesn't define a person. Statistics don't determine fate. And I saw you as a number, like a case number. But you were a person, and I couldn't see that. Tears streamed down his cheeks. I sat frozen, silent. If I had thought of another patient instead of you, maybe they could have survived too. Maybe I should have given them hope too. But I didn't. I abandoned them. At that moment, I should have felt anger toward Dr. Fisk. But I didn't, because I saw he was a wreck inside. He couldn't forgive himself. Dr. Fisk, I said softly, you're not a bad person. You were just a doctor who believed in the system, and the system isn't always right. But I prepared you for your death. I didn't give you hope. Maybe hope doesn't come from doctors, I said. Maybe hope comes from within. That day, as I left Dr. Fisk's office, I realized I had forgiven him, because anger only poisoned my soul, and I had no room for poison anymore. In August 2024, news spread through the town. Dr. Fisk had cancer, ironically, pancreatic cancer, stage 3. People were shocked. But he's a doctor! How could that be? Cancer doesn't care who the doctor is. It's just a disease. Dr. Fisk began chemotherapy and radiation therapy, but his health deteriorated rapidly. The town saw him less and less weakened, yellowed, like a ghost. In September, he called me. Olivia, would you visit me? His house was at the end of Main Street, a small, modest house. When I entered, he was lying in the living room, stretched out on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. There were morphine syringes beside him. Olivia, he said, his voice weak, I'm going to die. I sat down beside him. I know. And I'm scared. I held her hand. It was very cold. Dr. Fisk, we all die. But it's not how we die that matters. It's how we live. Have you forgiven me? I have. She cried. She cried for a long time, and I just sat there, holding her hand, without judging her. Today, wearing my black dress, I look at myself in the mirror. I am 59 years old. My hair has turned gray, but my eyes are bright. 5.5 years ago, they gave me 6 months to live, and I'm still here, Dr. Raymond Fisk's funeral is at 2 o'clock at Millbrook Cemetery. The whole town will be there. Walking towards town, under the autumn leaves, I think. This story is not a story of revenge. It is a story of forgiveness, a story of humanity. Dr. Fisk was wrong, but he wasn't a bad man. He was just a prisoner of a system, and the system isn't always right. I'm at the cemetery. Several hundred people have gathered. Dr. Fisk's family, his wife Martha, his 2 sons, his colleagues, his patients. The pastor is speaking. Dr. Fisk served this town for 30 years. He saved thousands of lives. He made mistakes, yes, but he always meant well. After the service, Martha comes over to me. Her eyes are red, her cheeks wet. Olivia, Raymond talked about you a lot these last few months. You taught him a lesson in hope. He taught me something too, I say. Doctors are human, and humans can make mistakes. Martha smiles. He wrote a letter for you. Before he passed away, he asked me to give it to you. She hands me a white envelope. My name is on the envelope, Olivia Hartwell. When I get home, I sit in my garden. My rose bushes are in bloom. The autumn sun warms my face. I open the envelope. Dear Olivia, as I write these lines, I know I will soon die. And before I die, I want to tell you something. You taught me the limits of medicine. I always believed science was absolute, but you showed me there is something beyond science, human will. I gave you 6 months, and I was very wrong. But perhaps that mistake was my most valuable lesson, because your life gave hope to other patients. They heard your story and said, maybe I can survive too. If I were born again, I would do everything differently. I would give you hope. I would have given you faith. Because sometimes, hope is the best medicine. Thank you for your forgiveness, Olivia. And thank you for living. You are a miracle. Sincerely, Dr. Raymond Fisk. After reading the letter, I cry silently. But these tears are not of pain. They are of relief, of closure. Now, here I am, sitting in my garden. A 59-year-old woman. I should have died 5.5 years ago, but today I am alive. Did I really have pancreatic cancer? Dr. Nguyen says, the records are clear you were sick, but now you're not. And that's something medicine can't explain. Am I a miracle? I don't know. Maybe I'm just a stubborn woman. But I know one thing. Life is not just the time doctors give you. Life is our choices. I refuse to give up. I refuse to accept death. And perhaps that refusal kept me alive. If you were in my situation, what would you do? Would you trust authority, or would you listen to your inner voice? And consider this, we are not just a diagnosis. We are our stories. And sometimes, the strongest stories are the ones medicine cannot predict. Today, October 2025, Olivia Hartwell still lives in Millbrook. She still sees Dr. Vivian Cole, but she is no longer a patient, just a friend. Dr. Sarah Nguyen published Olivia's case in the Journal of Oncology. The article was read by thousands of doctors. And some doctors began to change their approach to see their patients not just as statistics, but as human beings. Olivia's sons, Thomas and William, now respect their mother's choices. Thomas even read a book on alternative medicine. And the town of Millbrook quietly sees Olivia as its hero. She represents the power of hope. Some people ask, but what if Olivia was just lucky? What if the cancer shrunk on its own? Maybe. But maybe Olivia's mental strength, her diet, her lifestyle change really made a difference. Medicine doesn't know, and maybe it never will. But what matters is that Olivia is still alive, and she lives each day with gratitude and strength. After reading this story, has your perspective on life changed? Ask yourself this question: am I the doctor of my own life, or am I a prisoner of what others tell me? Thank you for listening to this story. If you know someone like Olivia who is fighting for their life, please give them hope, because sometimes hope is the most powerful medicine. Don't forget to subscribe and tell me where you are in the comments. I love hearing from you.